Hello, good morning, afternoon, or night, depending on the time you want to hear us. Welcome to another episode of Global Voices. As always, I am your host, Alvaro Vasquez, and I invite you to join us for the next 10 minutes in this special show. Today, we will talk about cultural differences and the consequences they entail. That's why I want to welcome our panel of experts. First, we have Carla Campero. Carla is a student of political science and anthropology at the London Schools of Economics and Political Science. Welcome, Carla. Thank you very much for accepting our invite.
Thank you very much for the invitation to your program and a greeting to your entire audience.
Joining us today, we also have the CEO of Bimbo, Miguel Torres Franco, who for years has been characterized by his great social work and programs for greater cultural diversity, along with his support for minorities. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm very happy to be here in this podcast to be able to talk about topics as interesting and important as the issue related to cultural differences.
You're right, Miguel. Especially nowadays, it is of utmost importance because of the great globalization we are experiencing. That's why I want to greet our last member of today's show, the Yale University teacher in history and anthropology, Dr. Ricardo Venegas. Thank you for coming.
The pleasure is all mine. Thank you for considering me. A greeting to Miguel and Carla and all your entire audience.
With nothing left to say, let's start the show. First, I would like to ask all of you, how do you think social media has changed the way we connect with others? And how do you think this can help cultural awareness? Why don't we start with Carla?
The era of digital transformation changed the way we work, educate ourselves, live, and as we already know, the way we interact with each other. As a student, I believe that social media is a great tool for us and can help us to interact with people from all over the world to learn more about their culture and be more aware that there are 1,000 different things that we don't know and we can learn a lot from them.
Thank you, Carla. What do you think about this, Miguel?
Well, in my case, social medias are indispensable for the marketing of our products. Thank you for this. We have been able to expand our market to more countries and cultures. Today, social media help us a lot to improve our products and increase sales because we are trying to study and the cultures of our customers and learn more from their gastronomy taste and try to adapt or develop versions of our products to the gastronomy taste of them. Then we are kind of get more people to consume our products. And however, we also believe that it's important for other cultures to experience new flavors and styles of food, so that can be learning from other cultures, even in a small way.
And Ricardo, is there something you would like to add?
Yes, well, social networks, the internet, and advances in technology have caused change in different areas such as communication. The great sources of information and more benefits that in turn has generated that we live in a completely new society and in a way so globalized by new technologies where geographical limitations no longer exist. It has brought about changes in education, the health system, and the government. However, it has certain disadvantages such as disinformation, new challenges in the area of security and privacy. In answer to your second question, I think it is a middle ground between right and wrong. Because on the one hand, disinformation has led to the reawakening of something of certain stereotypes that have been eliminated with work or saying certain comments, and ideological positions against cultural diversity, racism based on differences, which have unfortunately resulted in a shock and fire right of people. For example, in Germany, the Ultra Party has taken the place for the third most important political force. Nazi movements have been seen in the German special forces. In Spain, there are demonstrations in favor of the Francisco Franco government, in which xenophobic discourses are promoted, which in turn the social network somehow or indirectly try to normalize it. However, on the other side, there is a constant struggle and a fight to remove those false labels that you have about certain cultures or nationalities. Around the world, a social network allows to learn more about different cultures and have a more conscious level of cultural awareness of the problems of the cultures.
You're right. As everything, it has its good side and its bad side. Now, Ricardo and Carla, from the point of view of your careers, why do you think cultural differences are important?
Well, they are important for the exchange of ideas, tradition, and customs. That allow us to be a better society. For example, Mexico is the result of cultural differences and the crossing of these between pre-Hispanic and Mesoamerican and Spanish groups, which as a result has a unique gastronomy in the world, certain festivities and traditions, and things like that. If in the globalized world, these differences are treated with respect, they can generate several advantages, such as foreign investment in other countries where the philosophy of work is something important to mention as an example.
Carla, what do you think about this?
I agree with you, Ricardo. As you know, cultural anthropology is an anthropological branch which focuses on the study of human beings during their culture, understood as a set of customs, myths, beliefs, norms, and values that guide and regulate the behavior of a certain social group. It is a study that covers many important things. That is why the importance of knowing cultural diversity to learn, take advantage of, and above all, respect all of our differences is fundamental for a good social functioning.
I agree with both of you. Now, this question is for everyone. How do you think stereotypes affect minority groups? Let's start with you, Miguel.
Well, in my opinion, this is a problem that exists and that should be eradicated as soon as possible. And here in Bimbo, we're trying to provide jobs to any person, no matter his or her culture, her country of origin, religion, because the last thing that we want here in Bimbo is to create stereotypes about our workers.
Now, Ricardo, do you have something to say?
Yes, of course, the stereotypes affect because unconsciously people assimilate these stereotypes with real things and they start to make like negative attitudes or action that are completely false. So it is a real problem and a big problem.
Carla, is there something you would like to add?
Yes, I believe that stereotypes affect all types of groups in a very negative way. There are beliefs that can affect and offend individuals and their development. That is why I take advantage of your question to invite the public to avoid making stereotypes. It is better to do research and ask than to make wrong statements.
Yes, and this leads us to our next question. How can someone fight those stereotypes or bias that they have? Let's start with you, Carla.
Stereotypes are conventional constructions. Although they are deeply rooted in our society and our daily lives, it is essential to fight them to put an end to discrimination. To combat this problem, I would say that education in schools and laws in institutions that combat discrimination towards any differences that may be a face is fundamental. Again, I am addressing the public to analyze their way of thinking and commit to eradicating this problem. Coexist with affected groups. Be aware of what comes out of your mouth and learn to value the diversity that the world offers us.
Miguel, what do you think about this?
Well, here as a Bimbo, we try to combat this problem by giving courses to our human resources people. And this way we make sure that these employees are trained to see the qualities of people instead of discriminating them by their physical aspect. So this is a first strategy, has been very useful. And I say that this is because currently we have like a highly efficient work team that is composed of people from different cultures.
Thank you. And Ricardo, what do you think?
Well, there are different ways to combat these stereotypes. Big companies like Bimbo are trying to eliminate the stereotypes with campaigns. From my point of view, the best way to combat this judgment is a comprehensive education that begins at home, based on values, to teach children to be tolerant, to have an open mind, and other similar things. Another important point is to have an academic education in which cultural subjects are taken and related to it. It can be sociology, anthropology, history, ethics. In addition, giving relevances to subjects such as geography and visiting cultural places to help us to be more aware of the past and not to make those mistakes in the present or in the future.
Thank you very much. Now, Miguel, in your company, how do you deal with the cultural differences to prevent conflicts in the different work areas?
All right, so here in Bimbo, for this kind of situation, we always talk to our employees about the fact that they will be working with people from different cultures and that they will have like a little cultural shock at the beginning. And for this, they are having like talks about the different cultures that their partners have. If if this conflict arises between two people, there's gonna be a sanction that is gonna be applied for those for those persons, and they're gonna ask to be retaking the talk that I mentioned. And so far, this is like very useful and help us a lot to reduce conflicts between people from different cultures.
Thank you very much, Miguel. It's great that companies like Bimbo are implementing these plans. Now, the following two questions are for everyone. And the question is, how do you think we can use cultural differences as an advantage? Let's start with you, Carla.
I think that differences are always good. We can learn from them and diversify our environment. As Francis Bacon will say, knowledge is power.
That's a great quote. Now, Miguel, is there something you would like to say?
Yeah, these kind of situations we saw them like a great opportunity for improvement our company, because everyone brings different ideas and at the end they become one.
Thank you. And Ricardo, do you have something to add?
Yes, these cultural differences allow us to be much tolerant, learn about other religions of the world, and eliminate stereotypes with the truth. In addition to putting into practice certain values such as teamwork, empathy, and having an acceptance that is based on knowledge and respect, where there is no discrimination by the way they dress, their language, their skin color, and avoid any judgment.
Thank you very much. And finally, the last question. How can we help to create safer environments that allow people from different cultures to be themselves without being judged? Let's start with you, Ricardo.
Well, there are different ways to create an environment of cultural diversity. To achieve that cultural diversity, we have to take several steps, like recognize the differences in cultural diversity that exist, recognize and giving validity to cultural expressions and contributions of that culture, to know the context of the situation in which that culture has lived or what it has living, and make new experiences, trying new food of that culture and something similar steps.
Carla, what do you think about this?
Well, some of the strategies that I would like to mention to create a safe environment are reflecting on one's own culture, attitudes, and beliefs about others, clear, value-free, open, and respectful communication, developing trust, recognizing and avoiding stereotypes barriers, being prepared to engage with others in a two-way dialogue where knowledge is shared, and understanding the influence of cultural shock.
Well, folks, with this, we finish today's show. I want to thank our guests for coming and for sharing some of their wisdom and opinions. And to the listeners, thank you very much, and I hope you have an excellent day. Goodbye.